Today we're going to do a quick refresher of the distributive property. This is something that you've probably heard before, but we're just going to make sure that everyone's remembered it and we're good to go because we're going to need it for some future lessons, okay? So I can get rid of parentheses by using the distributive property. So what is the distributive property? Well, the distributive property is used to simplify expressions by multiplying a single term by two or more terms inside parentheses. So let's talk about what that looks like. We talked about expressions and how expressions are any problems without an equal sign. So this right here is an expression. Once you make an equal sign and put something on the other end, it becomes an equation. It equals something, equation, okay? So let's go ahead and try the distributive property. It states that if we did, so look at this problem. It's A on the outside of the parentheses and inside is B plus C. I hope you remember from before that when a variable or a number is touching parentheses, it means you're multiplying. So this is kind of the same as saying A times B, A times C. So how you combine these is the A times the B, and the way we put that is just AB. So A times B is the same as saying AB. Because remember, whenever something's touching or in parentheses, it means multiplying. So these are being multiplied together. Now, my symbol in between is positive, and the A is positive because there's nothing there. So A times a positive C is a positive AC. So this term, this means that A times B or AB right here, and that's what I talked about there. All right, use the distributive property to solve the following. So let's go ahead and do what we just did up here. So I'm going to do the A times the X, A times X, that's how I would write that. That's why, and if you keep in mind right here, that's why we're not using the X for multiplication anymore, because what if I did 8 times X, 8 times X? Now it just looks like 8x times x, like variables. That's why also, like, we can still use the dot, but you don't need it. When a number is touching a variable, it means multiplying. So we don't want to do that anymore. Get rid of those x's as multiplying. You can use a dot, you can use parentheses, or just put them together like this when you're doing expressions and equations. The second one then is to take the 8 and multiply it with the other thing in the parentheses. Whatever is inside the parentheses must be multiplied with what's outside the parentheses. So what's 8 times 2? Well, it's 16. Now I need to put a symbol between here because right now this reads as 8 times 16, but that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying 8x blank 16. Well, 8 is positive and 2 is positive. When I do a positive times a positive, it stays positive. So now it's 8x plus 16. Let's try another one. Now, what if we have a negative number outside of the parentheses? So here it is, negative A, and the operation is subtraction. It is easy to make mistakes here. Remember to always look at signs. A negative multiplied by another negative is a positive. Remember, when we do a negative and a negative, that's an even number of negatives. 2 negatives changes to a positive. So let's try this. Negative A times a positive B. Well, it's only one negative, so this one's going to stay negative, and it's A times B. Now we've got the A times the C. Well, it's a negative A times a negative C. It turns into a positive, and A times C. So let's practice this and see how we do. Use the distributive property to solve the following. So again, remember, anything outside the parentheses must be multiplied with everything inside the parentheses. So negative 5 times a positive x. Negative 5x, because the 5 and the x combine. We can't put them together completely, but we can still represent them there, the 5 and the x, but now they're combined. Now again, negative 5 times a negative 4. That's 2 negatives, so I know it's going to be positive. And 5 times 4 is 20. So we're done with that one. We've gone as far as we can go. unless they tell us what x is, what number x is. Right now, x is like that mystery number. We don't know what it is. So let's look at our practice and see if there are any surprises on this one. Now, number 1, you should be okay with. Keep in mind what the signs are, okay? Same with number 2, look at your signs. Now, number 3, I hope you remember from our last lesson. If there's no number, it's like there's an invisible 1. So this is really -1 here. That's what this is saying, -1. Okay, so -1 times x, -1 times -11. So go ahead and give those a try.